You could give two people the exact same salary, the exact same opportunities, the exact same financial advice, and one will retire a millionaire while the other dies broke. Why? Because money isn't about math, it's about psychology. And here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to hear. Your relationship with money was decided before you earned your first dollar. It was programmed into you by experiences you don't even remember, by parents who never taught you, by a society that lied to you about what wealth actually means. Today, we're going to break down the hidden psychology that controls every financial decision you make. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll never look at money the same way again. Let me tell you about Styx and a Wall Street executive. Meet Styx. He's just a regular guy working a regular job. Nothing fancy, nothing impressive. He drives an old car, lives in a modest apartment, and most people wouldn't look twice at him on the street. But here's what nobody knows. Styx is quietly building wealth that would shock everyone around him. Now compare him to Richard Fusconi, a Harvard-educated Merrill Lynch executive who declared bankruptcy. This man earned millions during his career, but lost everything. Same country, same economy, completely opposite outcomes. Here's what's happening. We all have an invisible script about money running in our heads. It's not written down. You didn't choose it, but it controls everything. Styx figured this out early. He watched his parents fight about money growing up, watched friends make the same mistakes over and over. So he decided to write his own script instead of following the one he inherited. But most people never do this. If you grew up with parents who fought about money, you might avoid talking about it entirely, even when you desperately need to. If you grew up poor, you might spend everything you earn because scarcity taught you that money disappears anyway, so you might as well enjoy it now. If you grew up wealthy, you might take insane risks because you've never truly feared financial ruin. These aren't conscious choices. They're psychological programming. And the scariest part? Most people never realize they're being controlled by these invisible scripts. They think they're making rational decisions, but they're actually just acting out patterns that were set decades ago. Here's a brutal question. When is enough enough? The answer is never. And that's the trap. Styx learned this lesson the hard way. He finally got his first big raise. For 2 weeks, he felt on top of the world. Then he saw his coworker pull up in a brand new Tesla. Suddenly, his reliable Honda felt inadequate. The raise that felt like freedom started to feel like it wasn't enough. But here's where Styx did something different. He recognized the trap before it swallowed him whole. In the 1950s, the average American home was 900 square feet. Today, it's 2,600 square feet. We have 3 times the space, but are we 3 times happier? No. We're more stressed, more in debt, and more anxious than ever. Because here's the psychological trick that's destroying you. You don't compare yourself to your past self. You compare yourself to your neighbor, your coworker, the person on Instagram with the car you want. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, but I call it the comparison trap. And it's the reason millionaires feel broke. You finally get the promotion you wanted, the raise you deserved. For 2 weeks, you feel amazing. Then you notice your colleague just bought a Tesla. Suddenly, your Honda feels inadequate. The raise that felt like freedom now feels like it wasn't enough. This is why lottery winners often end up broke. It's not because they're stupid. It's because their reference point shifts. They start comparing themselves to billionaires instead of their old life. The private jet they can't afford bothers them more than the mansion they're living in excites them. The psychology here is simple but devastating. Enough is always just slightly more than what you have now. It's a moving target, and if you don't anchor yourself to something real, you'll chase it forever and die exhausted. Let me destroy a comfortable lie you've been telling yourself. You think you're in control of your financial decisions. You're not. Every dollar you spend is influenced by factors you don't even notice. Styx used to think he was immune to this. "I'm smart," he'd tell himself. "I make rational decisions." Then he started tracking every purchase for a month. What he discovered shocked him. Restaurants print their menus with the most expensive item at the top. Why? Because it makes everything else look reasonable. That $40 steak makes the $28 chicken seem like a bargain. Styx had been ordering that chicken for years, feeling smart, not realizing he just got manipulated into spending more than he planned. Credit cards make you spend more than cash, not 10% more. Studies show 50, 100% more. Because swiping a card doesn't feel like losing money. It's abstract, painless. That's not an accident. That's psychological design. Even the stock market, where people claim to make rational decisions, is driven by pure emotion, fear, and greed. When everyone's panicking, you sell at the bottom. When everyone's euphoric, you buy at the top. The exact opposite of what you should do. Here's what's really happening. Your logical brain thinks it's driving, but your emotional brain has its hands on the wheel. And your emotional brain makes decisions in milliseconds based on feelings, not facts. The person who understands this wins. The person who thinks they're above it loses everything. Humans are terrible at thinking about the future. Psychologists have proven this over and over. When researchers scan people's brains while they think about their future selves, the same areas light up as when they think about complete strangers. Your brain literally perceives future you as a different person, someone you don't really care about. Styx struggled with this, too. At 25, retirement felt like a lifetime away. Why save for some stranger version of himself when he could enjoy his money now? But then something clicked. He started writing letters to his future self. Sounds corny, but it worked. He began to see that stranger as someone worth caring about. Here's where it gets really interesting. Compound interest is the most powerful force in finance, but it requires the one thing humans are worst at: patience. If you invest $500 a month from age 25 to 35, then stop completely, you'll have more money at retirement than someone who starts at 35 and invests $500 a month until they're 65. Same monthly amount. But the person who started earlier invested for only 10 years, while the late starter invested for 30 years. That's not magic. That's math. But your brain can't process it because the reward is decades away, and the sacrifice is right now. Styx got this, and that understanding changed everything for him. The people who get rich aren't smarter than you. They just found a way to care about their future self as much as their present self. That's the entire game. Here's the question that reveals everything. Who are you when no one's watching? Because here's what money really is. It's a magnifier of identity. Styx had to face this head-on. He realized he was buying things not because he wanted them, but because he needed people to see him differently. He was using money to fill a hole that money couldn't fill. If you're insecure, money becomes a tool to buy respect. You get the luxury car not because you love driving, but because you need people to see you differently. If you're generous, money amplifies that. If you're greedy, money makes you more greedy. This is why people do insane things when they get rich. They don't change. They just become more of what they always were. But now they have the resources to act on it. The guy who feels worthless inside will spend millions trying to prove his worth outside. The woman who grew up invisible will surround herself with luxury that screams, "Look at me." The person who was bullied will use money as a weapon. But here's the twist that Styx discovered. Money can't fix identity problems. It just exposes them in high definition. You think you want $1 million. But what you really want is the feeling you believe $1 million will give you. Security, freedom, respect, happiness. The tragedy is that people spend their entire lives chasing money to solve problems that money can't solve. And by the time they realize it, they've sacrificed everything that actually mattered: time, relationships, health, peace. Styx almost became one of those people. Almost. So what's the answer? It's not to make more money. It's to change your relationship with money. Here's what Styx finally understood. What wealthy people know that broke people don't. Money is a tool, not a scoreboard. It's not about having more than other people. It's about having enough to live the life you actually want. And here's the real secret. The life you actually want probably costs less than you think. Most of what you're chasing is someone else's definition of success. The big house? That's what society told you success looks like. The luxury car? That's what advertising convinced you would make you happy. The designer clothes? That's what Instagram taught you was impressive. Styx stripped all that away and asked himself, what do I actually need to feel fulfilled? For most people, it's time. Time with family. Time to pursue passions. Time to not be stressed about bills. Time to sleep at night without anxiety. And the beautiful irony is this: the less you need to impress others, the wealthier you actually become. Because you're not bleeding money trying to maintain an image. You're keeping it, investing it, and using it to buy the only thing that actually matters: freedom. That's what Styx figured out. And it changed everything. The psychology of money comes down to this. It's not about the money. It never was. It's about understanding yourself, your fears, your insecurities, your invisible scripts, your definition of enough. Styx isn't special. He's not smarter than you. He doesn't have some secret formula. He just understood something most people never learn. Wealth isn't what you earn. It's what you keep. It isn't about impressing anyone. It's about freedom. So here's my challenge to you. For the next week, before you spend any money, ask yourself one question. Is this moving me toward freedom, or is this keeping me trapped? That one question will change everything. It changed everything for Styx. It can change everything for you. If this opened your eyes, subscribe. Because we're just getting started on breaking down the lies you've been told about money, success, and wealth. See you in the next one.